Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to the K1lling It Podcast. I'm your host with the most, don't need to boast, Arsmy. I'm here with my co-hosts.
Silent but won't kill you, Micaela.
The girl with the feels, Camille.
And I'm the funniest of the mesa, Vanessa.
And we're back here with another episode, y'all. Last podcast was great. You know, we're starting it off today. Great. Let's get into the recordings. Right, guys? Yeah.
Hello. My name is Cleopatra, not to be confused with the Queen. And I came to Florida for a quick vacay, and my skin is flaring up, looking more like a firebird and not a normal skin burn. I watched your first podcast, and I want to know more about XP and what treatments are available.
So I actually found out that the term pigmentosum was coined by a dermatologist named Moritz Kapusi. That's a name.
So, what is XP?
Last podcast we talked a little bit about it, but this time we'll discuss it more in detail. XP is a hereditary disorder which affects the skin of a person, and this condition with people being extremely sensitive to UV light. And what happens is they'll go out into the sun, and the UV light will hit their skins. And normally, for a person without XP, their skin cells would be damaged once the UV light hits them, but their body would then repair it. However, for a person with XP, this does not occur, meaning that what would look like a normal sunburn to all of us would be like a 3rd-degree burn on a person with XP.
Oh, wow, really?
Yes, it is very, very bad. So some of the symptoms, and this is actually where the name of the disorder came from, is that the symptoms that occur from the exposure to the UV light is that of dry skin, which is ectoderma, and then spots in the skin, which is pigmentosa. So that's where it actually gets.
So like Vanessa had said, the symptoms are dry skin and then freckles at an early age, as well as thin skin, and then red lines that are caused by the blood vessels widening. They like show these symptoms. They'll be needing extra protection when they're in the sun, basically like full coverage, and to make sure that they aren't exposed for too long, or else they'll be having, like Vanessa said, those 3rd-degree burns.
Can you imagine what it would be like to have to walk outside with sunglasses, and not even outside, but like inside with sunglasses all the time, and like covering your skin because any kind of UV light, like not just from the sun, but like even like light bulbs, like they can cause you like these 3rd-degree burns.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
How they deal with windows and doors.
they have to have them closed at all times.
Oh, wow.
They are living practically in the dark.
Indoors, indoors, indoors.
So they're kind of practically like vampires. They are like the real life, like cannot stand the light and will burn to death practically.
Okay. Well, that's actually pretty cool.
What did he say?
But
If we get down to like the genetic code of everything, as you can see on our board, a person without XP has the correct genetic markers and whatnot to be able to provide that protection necessary for them. However, somebody who doesn't have XP, as you can clearly see, there's no genetic makeup for them so that they're able to have that protection from the sun that they're able to.
luckily for y'all, we have a treatment for this, because this is really crazy having to live in those conditions that were explained earlier.
There were a few steps involved in getting to this cure, and those steps were very complicated. And
Extracted about 65 samples of blood from 20 different individuals by adding buffer and going through a few cycles of centrifuge. By doing this, we were able to isolate DNA and figure out who had XP and who didn't, and in what area in the DNA.
so we had to isolate the DNA, and we had about 20 individuals who we took 65 peripheral leukocyte blood samples from. And then we centrifuged those. We added a buffer, and then we centrifuged them. And that was what we did to isolate the normal cells from the XP cells.
To find the nonsense mutation, we had to do PCR, or preliminary chain reaction. We first had to deneutralize the double-stranded DNA and locate the reverse and forward strands by using the annealing process. After we found both the forward and reverse, we had to after we found the primers, we had to synthesize the new DNA, and through that we were able to see which DNA samples were missing and what sections, and that's how we found the nonsense mutation to separate the XP patients from the non-XP patients. Although this process sounded easy, we had to do all 3 steps of denature. annealing and elongation. They got me. Elongation up to 30 or 40 times. After we conducted PCR and we got the samples, we had to pipette each of all 65 samples into a gel box and connect it to a power supply to analyze our data.
So in this data, what we found out was, first of all, with the RFPL, we found out that the restriction enzyme, as you can clearly see over there, that's where the restriction would be, is that, well, not exactly, but to give you a visual representation of it, it is called G2XP, and this is what causes
The lack of cell repairment.
Exactly. Thank you so much. With the gels, we were able to find out what the genotype. A band would be placed for a big P, would be placed at 30, 50, 100, and 200. However, for a little p, which would be an allele with the enzyme restriction, the restriction enzyme, it would consist of a 30 band, a 50 band, and a 300 band, since the restriction does not allow for cutting at that point. This would lead to a big A with a big A having a big P, and a big P would contain the double of what a big P allele would be, and then a little p would contain the bands, the double amount of bands of what a little p allele contains, and a carrier would contain all of those bands.
Then from there, of course, we do our southern blot technique, which is important because we have to be able to distinguish the alleles that are, the normal disease and, of course, what's the carrier and whatnot. So after we do that, then we start doing CRISPR. However, we do go through the processes again, just to make sure, everything is correct and, to be able to distinguish it a little bit better. Then we move on to CRISPR, where we have to design the gRNA
so that
able to deliver the correct genes to the different parts of the DNA strand, so that then it can become repaired.
After we were paired with CRISPR, we had to compare our first conducts of how the DNA strands looked with our new DNA to make sure that we were actually able to get the correct enzymes fixed and make sure that our cure is functional. So this cure actually, because this is something that has to do with the skin, a simple injection would not work out. So the treatment itself has to be applied for a month, 2 times a week, in order for it to go from what it used to be, the DNA sequence, what it used to be, to that of what a person without XP, their DNA sequence would actually look like. And remember guys, this is FDA approved, so if you have XP, get it.
Yes.
We highly recommend it. And it is covered by insurance. Yes. we did a lot to get it covered.